They tell me that baking soda will get rid of that. It's downy mildew, powdery mildew. I think it's downy mildew. Even though it's winter, we have the high humidity here all the time. And any kind of squash, winter squash or anything like that suffers from this. And once it gets started on the leaves, I cut off the first leaves I saw with it. But once it gets started, it just takes over the plant. And I was hoping to get one more mess of squash off here. I got some little ones under there. We got a freeze coming Sunday night from what I understand. The weather people tell what they think it's going to be, but it's never exactly like they say. Oh my goodness, look at this. I'm ashamed of myself for letting so much fruit stay on this satsuma. It's just a miracle it didn't break the limbs. Look under there. I honestly didn't realize there was that much on there because it usually throws off 2/3 of what it puts on. By the time they're as big as a pea, it'll just throw them off. So I just took it for granted it did this year. It did throw off a lot. Can you imagine what it would have been like if it hadn't? But these are very flexible limbs, I can tell you. I'm going to pick a bunch of these today and give some of these limbs some relief. They are finally sweetening up. They're not as sweet as they will be about the end of the month. But these Satsuma oranges do really well in southern Alabama, southern Georgia, northwest Florida. I don't guess there's any place in the south where you can't grow these. Now up north I suspect they would have to have them in a big pot and keep them inside. And their trees would never get this big. Of course, this is as big as this one was ever supposed to get. And I was going to drastically prune it, right? But I found out that you drastically prune it, you just might as well forget having any fruit for a few years. So I'm not going to drastically prune it, but I'm going to have to do something. It probably next year, since it made such a heavy crop this year, probably won't make such a heavy one next year. But you see where this limb here is trying to split, right there. That's from all that weight. And I can't risk that anymore. I don't want it to cause my tree to get infected with something because it's damaged the tree. And see what a nice sized trunk on that tree. It will be hard to grow one that big in a pot, I would imagine. Well, I guess if you got a big enough pot, but I don't have space for a big pot like that. I got something on my mouth. These little bugs flying around out here everywhere. All my girls have had scrambled eggs today. Everybody tells me, well, not everybody, but quite a few people, my chickens have stopped laying. I said, why? I don't know. They just stopped laying. I don't use any artificial light for my chickens. I feel like, if their body needs a rest in the winter, I'm more than happy for them to take that rest because I stagger the ages of my flocks, when they're going to start laying. It's a deliberate process you have to do. Like, I know some of these older girls, these 2-year-olds, are going to either slow down or stop in the winter, and some of them are going to molt, and some of them did. So I have 2-year-olds, I have year-olds, and I have like 8-month-olds. I knew the 8-month-olds were going to start laying about fall, and they did. So that way you always have some laying through the winter, no matter, how much light they're not getting. Like I said, I don't use any artificial light. But yeah, I have so many eggs and I did have quite a few customers, and they buy 4 or 5 dozen at a time. Well, they don't need any more for a few weeks, but these girls don't know that, so they pump out over a dozen eggs a day. Like 16 eggs a day, 17 sometimes 20. And that adds up pretty quick. So for the protein, I just scramble a couple dozen and give them back to them. Put a little cayenne pepper in there to keep their gut worm free. And some Italian spices. Sometimes I even give them a little garlic. That also helps keep their gut worm free. They're all healthy. And my girl that was molting so bad you can't even hardly tell which one she was now, because she's put back on them new feathers and she looks like a spring chicken. Pun intended. I hope everybody's had a blessed week, a good week. Remember, all things come from God. Not necessarily the bad things, but any good thing you got in your life, it came from the Almighty. So give thanks every day, because God is so good. I'm a Jesus lover and not ashamed of it. He is my everything. I love Him more than anything or anyone in this world. And second to that, I love my children more. I mean, I love Jesus more than I love my own children. If that's, people might say, why would she say something like that? Because without Jesus, I couldn't truly love my children like I do. If you don't understand that, then a relationship with Jesus would help you understand that. God bless. Stay safe.